So, full disclosure before we start this, I'm not a fan of Umbrella Academy, but this is Netflix's biggest superhero franchise since Marvel properties went over to Disney Plus.
And screwing up Jupiter Ascending, which they did tremendously.
So, their first season, I believe, was in 2019. Then season 2 was in 2020. And they just dropped season 3 for Umbrella Academy yesterday. Elliot Page was playing the character of Vanya Hargreaves, number 7, or the White Violin. And in between the time that season 2 was dropped and season 3 was in the beginning stages of filming.
Thank you.
Elliot Page came out as transgender. This was when they were first filming the 3rd season, and it was like 4 months after they had dropped season 2. So they had the question of whether Elliot Page was going to continue playing Vanya Hargreaves, or were they going to just completely change the character, the already established character, into a transgender character to conform to, I guess, real life.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why you would do that.
Which is a weird thing that's becoming a thing in Hollywood now, where everything has to, like, you're no longer acting, you're just portraying yourself on screen.
It's strange that question even needs to be posed, right?
I take enormous issue with this.
Have you watched the show?
I don't think I have to. Because,
no. Admittedly, I've watched, like, the first episode.
I've watched the first episode, and I was like, I fell asleep, so that's my review. But, listen, I'm a big advocate of separating the art from the artist. And this is completely not that.
This completely antithetical to
this is the artist
principle.
Throwing a tantrum and this being like, my identity supersedes where this story was supposed to go.
Yeah.
My identity outside of this realm where the art is being held supersedes the fans that are following the story, the fans that were following the character, and it just seems so selfish. Like, it would be more dignified to be like, listen, I want to be true to myself. I am now a man, and thus I will remove myself from portraying women because I feel like women should play women's roles. I would have respected that. This is like, I don't know.
Why couldn't they just leave the character alone?
That's what I'm saying.
You think, like, if you feel that deeply uncomfortable with playing a woman at that point, then you got to step out. But also, if you're looking for fairness in casting decisions and you want transgender actors to be treated like any other actors and considered equally, then show that you're capable of performing outside of that identity marker, you know?
And what's interesting about that is what Elliot Page will end up doing is raising the profile for the members of the transgender community that are acting. One of the biggest complaints that I had when they got mad at Scarlett Johansson when she was going to play a transgender, I don't remember if it was a transgender male or a transgender female.
It was a woman transitioning to a man.
Okay, so my issue with that was with them complaining was that, like, look, she is arguably at that time the biggest actress working today. Your movie will live and die on her name. Elliot Page will help do the same for the actual transgender community, because a lot of people's complaints was there isn't an actor who's actually transgender that would be able to play this role, because that was what their complaint was. They said Scarlett Johansson isn't actually transgender, so she can't play this role. What we have here...
I'm not actually Hamlet. Can I play Hamlet?
I'm trying to follow their logic.
Like, my father's not dead. Can I do it? Like, what are we saying?
I'm following their logic through, and I'm saying that if they want to raise their profile so that members of the transgender community can actually play these roles, Elliot Page will end up doing for this down the line. But that doesn't mean they needed to change this character.
Another conflict here is that this show is based on a comic. It's not an original creation. It's adapted from, actually, Gerard Way of My Chemical Romance's comic. I think he released it in, like, 2007. So these are characters that he created. Vanya Hargreaves is an already established character, and now they've decided to transition Vanya into Victor Hargreaves.
Is there any
in the show.
context, or is it just like you're Victor now?
I mean, I haven't watched season 3 to see how they navigated it, but how it seems to me from the comments that Elliot Page has made so far, it seems like they were actually excited to incorporate this into the show. Like, it almost wasn't even a question.
Yeah.
So what she said to Seth Meyers, I think she was on Monday night with him. She said that their showrunner, Steve Blackman, seemed really excited to incorporate it into the show and immediately brought on a transgender author named Thomas Page McBee on to assist them in incorporating this into the script. So
would it have been so wrong to just keep the character the same?
No, it wouldn't have been. And that's what I'm arguing for, at least. It's just, it almost seems like they didn't even consider that. It was like immediately like, let's go. Let's bring this into the plot now.
And I'm sure that they see that as a great marketing opportunity for them.
Maybe they need that
Possibly.
Because they don't have the backing of like having the Marvel name behind them or DC.
I mean, Umbrella Academy is a fairly
huge.
popular property.
And again, it's a thing where like, so I attribute part of the failings of like Lightyear to like it was an ensemble cast in Toy Story, and then it's like not only made for, it's like he's not the protagonist. Buzz isn't the protagonist, but Buzz is like the foil to the protagonist.
Yeah.
And so they've made a movie about the foil, and this is a case where Elliot is part of the ensemble cast, and Elliot, doesn't, or the characters it's portraying doesn't control the narrative. But now it's kind of a thing you can't ignore it.
No.
Because like a lot of people binge watch shows. Like let's say in 10 years people are binge watching the show like as it's our American right, Like what are you like? It's gonna be so abrupt from one season to the other. It's like
right.
what I mean,
because
maybe they wrote it in and maybe it was like flawless and it'll be like study for generations. But like the way that the culture is and how we just throw things out there, like I just don't have no faith that it's done tastefully.
Also, you said separate the art from the... Thank you. Also, you said separate the art from the artist, and the problem here is that they don't want you to separate the art from the artist. They want the artist to be just as important as the people in the show. Like, they want the
art
actor...
is the artist.
The actor wants to be just as important. One of my biggest issues right now is they're always talking... is when they talk about the concept of, like, seeing yourself in somebody else. It's the most vain and self-obsessed thing you see from celebrities. Like, yes, I love being able to be a person that somebody else can see themselves in. Like, if you really break that down to what that phrase means, it's extremely narcissistic. Like, yes, I do represent all of people who look like me.
Right. So Elliot Page was also on Good Morning America yesterday and had to make the obligatory comment that the reaction has been really positive so far. She said, it makes me feel happy in terms of representation and hopefully it meaning something to people. But, like, why does it need to mean anything to anyone?
They're obsessed with the idea that that what they're doing it's when I always complain about, like, when they talk about race and gender swapping in movies. I've never had real problems with that as long as they don't talk about it. I know I get a lot of crap for that. Like, look, if they pick a great actor and it's not including the times when that part of the character is super important. Like a lot of people like, well, you wouldn't race swap Black Panther. Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't, because it's relevant to who that
character is. Or like
a
historical figure.
Or a historical figure.
Yeah.
So when it's not, I don't have as much of a problem with it as long as they don't talk as if they're saving the world and changing society because they tokenized a character.
And another thing is just like the cynical side. I'm sure when Netflix found out that Elliot Page was coming out, they were like, dollar signs, because they were like, welcome Victor Hargreaves to this
Free
story
marketing
that was already written with a different character.
And that is truly like the most disgusting thing of all, that it's the commercial... This word is really hard for me.
Commercialization.
It's the commercialization of, a minority group. Mm-hmm. Like, it's... Like, I wouldn't say give anything because, like, life likes to test you when you say that. But I would give a plenty of things for people to become self-aware and realize they are not speaking favorably for you. They are exploiting you for profit.
I think more and more people are catching on to that. At least from what I see, whether it's on TikTok or Instagram, I see a lot of people who who are members of the LGBTQ community that point out the absurdities of like Jude marketing and stuff like that. So I don't think that most are oblivious to that anymore, especially if you're cynical about the business side of these industries, which I would hope most people actually are.
I should hope so.
Yeah. So this is a bummer because to me, I would have liked to see where what they would have done.
It would have been really interesting if Elliot Page had continued playing Vanya.
But transition, yeah, exactly. But finished, gone through her transition.
Because your real life is your real life.
Exactly.
That has nothing to do with the show.
Nothing.
It doesn't need to conform to or reflect who you are as a person.
Makes no sense
at all.
That they want to talk about these things. It feels like they always kind of want to have their cake and eat it too. They want to both be able to portray these things in a certain way, but does that make sense? Like,
dude, not only does it make sense, they want to have their cake, vomit it into a plate, make you look at it and say, "Call it cake."
Yeah,
call it cake, and it's like. It's one thing in society, and it's another thing in art, because like art is meant to convey a period and a time, a theme, a message, and this again, I haven't seen the show, so like I don't want to be as extravagant and say like it's completely derailed everything, because maybe it hasn't. But
thank you.
In some way, it does, because. It's not all in one. It's not we're all in this together. It's like we're all in this together until it becomes slightly inconvenient for our personal identities.
Yeah. So this is an interesting question about it. Does this mean that Elliot Page should only be playing male characters now?
I mean, likely that's what Elliot Page only feels comfortable doing now, if this was an issue that had to be forced.
Because it wouldn't be very fair now to be able to play both. Like, I feel like that's what they should have done with this character.
That's why I drew the comparison to the Scarlett Johansson situation. Scarlett Johansson is a woman, identifies as a woman, but was perfectly willing to play the role of a man and withdrew only because there was such an outcry about it that she was somehow displacing transgender actors or taking away opportunities and excluding them somehow by doing so.
Is Elliot Page excluding people by being able to play both roles?
And should we do the same thing? Should we be like, well, I'm not comfortable. I mean, only biological males should play biological males? Like, do we play that game?
Yeah, like a lot of children in
when does it stop?
They've in animation they have transitioned slowly into like they're like if you're voicing if you're a black character, you have to be voiced by a black actor. It didn't always used to be that, and vice versa. Black actors could voice white characters. It was never seen as a thing as long as you could do the voice justice.
What about if they're mixed race? Does it have to be like the exact same proportion? It's like, well, I'm actually 75% this and 25% the other, and you're only 50-50, and I find it offensive.
Exactly.
Like,
so
where does it end?
So where does that mean that following their own logic, should Elliot Page only be playing transgender characters, or should Elliot Page have to play who he has now identified as or gone through the operation, right?
Who knows?
I guess, yeah. So that's interesting. Where does it go from here? Like, I don't know. Like, the lines are always so innocuous and
I love that word.
And it's always left very vague on purpose. Mm-hmm. It's done that way literally to muddy the waters with these discussions. So I think it's fascinating.
And this has been an aspect of every interview about this new season. Yep. And it's just such an awkward thing to dance around the issue. Mm-hmm. It clearly makes the actor uncomfortable to have to answer for it, but it's like, you forced the issue. Yeah. You didn't have to change the character you played.
I feel like it would have gotten a lot of goodwill with a lot of people if they just left the character. If Elliot had transitioned and then just finished playing that character as the character was.
Right. I think that would have opened up more doors.
I agree. There's some super chats.
Yes. Waffle Sensei said, "Are we just going to pretend Tom Cruise isn't the patron saint of Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs Scientology?"
Look, you're not wrong. I'm not.
That's a Scientologist.
I'm not saying that you're not wrong there, but if we were going to excommunicate every person that we wanted to talk about or watch in Hollywood, or hope that they're doing good for the industry just because they believe in something you don't believe in. That would be all of them. So if the idea here is that I don't care about Tom Cruise's religion, I care about what he does for the industry of film, which I love, which I am passionate about. I will swallow my pride and let Tom Cruise have his religion, and I will just enjoy what. Every time I called it a religion before without doing that, people said it's a cult. It's not a religion. Whatever. I don't care. Does he make Top Gun cool? Does he? Yes.
He does.
Fantastic.
He does.
Is he going to hang off a building in the next Mission Impossible movie?
He will.
Yes. Perfect. I don't care if he survives it because he's a Scientologist. I just care that the movie looks cool.
K for 2X said, separate the artist from the character. Great words. Cutest. I don't know how to say that.
Boricua.
Boricua.
That's you, Dane.
Thank you.
Waffle Sensei said, pathetic Elliot Page is not an actor. I can't say that part. If Elliot cannot play a female character, she has a lot more experience as a woman, anyways.
I don't necessarily. I mean, know.
Chronologically true.
I think that.
But I'm just saying it would open. Like, if the goal, like going off of what we're being told, if the goal is to open more doors for transgender identifying actors, you would do that by playing Vanya.
Did you guys see the? I sent you the link to the trailer. They're literally making a. This is how hilarious Hollywood is now. They're making a movie called They Them.
Oh my
goodness.
Goodness.
It's a slasher movie taking place at a gay conversion camp.
Oh my God.
Because it's 2022 and that's a thing.
Can I play devil's advocate for a second?
Yes.
So, in favor of Elliot Page. Perhaps the reason...
I don't think we've been negative. I think we've been questioning of it. I don't think we've been in any way unfair.
I agree. I think this has been a very tepid and respectful conversation. But I just want to say, devil's advocating my own argument. Perhaps the reason Elliot did not want to play the role is because despite the transitioning, Elliot kept getting typecasted perhaps in roles of attractive women, and it's something Elliot wants to.
Then perhaps that should start with the next role.
Elliot from himself.
Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.
Bye.